Welcome to Skyline Psychology. My name is Shane, and here are the 7 simple strategies to beat anxiety and regain your life without needing to control everything. These strategies are from a therapy style known as acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT for short. These are some of my favorite techniques to share with clients as they help people become less powerless and stuck in their lives. And out of all the techniques I share, these ones get the best feedback. So let's start by breaking down the jargon term diffusion. What it means from the ACT perspective is being able to separate or distance ourselves from our thoughts, letting them come and go instead of being caught up in them, and worse still, struggling and fighting with them. Imagine it as an opposite of fusion or fusing with thoughts, which means getting really stuck or caught up in them. Next, we want to address the elephant in the room. And if you've experienced anxiety for a long enough time, then you're likely a control freak. You likely want to control the amount of anxiety you experience, and you probably want that amount to be 0 out of 10. And I don't blame you. Anxiety is a pretty unpleasant experience, so it makes sense that we want to get rid of it or not experience it at all. The problem is we aren't very good at controlling our internal world, like our thoughts or feelings, and worse still, a side effect of trying to control it is that we often amplify the intensity of these thoughts and feelings. So, to add some weight to my point, I'm going to engage in some mind control. So, I'm going to make you think of something now, and you will be powerless to resist. Don't believe me? Then as hard as you can, do not, under any circumstances, think of a rainbow. Don't think of it and all its colors sitting in the sky. I bet you thought of one. This doesn't just work for rainbows. It can also work for abstract and more obscure things like, as hard as you can, don't think of a pink elephant in a spacesuit floating around the moon. The good news is that rainbows and pink elephants are hopefully not that scary, so we can just move on. But if I asked you to recall a scary time in your life or something that made you uncomfortable, then your mind just can't help but do that too. So in addition to my mind control abilities, your mind also reacts to a bunch of other stimuli in the world. And these stimuli will make all sorts of thoughts pop into your head. For example, while watching me now, you might think, what's this guy going on about? And why am I even watching this video? But think of it from another thing. So imagine the stimulus is something like seeing the same make and model car your ex used to drive. Or you're walking around and suddenly you smell the perfume of an ex. You can imagine that certain memories and thoughts might pop into your mind. They could be positive or negative. So the best thing we can do in the face of this is relax and understand that we are truly powerless when it comes to the types of thoughts that enter our mind. But wait a minute, didn't you say that you're going to help me feel less powerless with 7 amazing techniques? Now I feel more powerless than before. Well, if you've listened this far, thank you. Stick with me and I'll explain it. The magic in these techniques comes from the ability to accept various things about the mind and to let go rather than struggle and fight. We've all heard the story about what to do if you're caught in quicksand, or worse yet, caught in a rip at the beach. We don't struggle, go with the flow, and we will have a much greater chance of survival. Struggle in either of those situations, and you're likely to become exhausted and sink. In the external world, taking control of a situation is important and can work well. So if it's raining outside, you grab an umbrella, a raincoat, or take cover until it stops. There's a wolf outside your door? Throw things at it until it goes away. Want to go to space? Build a little capsule, heat it up, put oxygen in it. You probably need a toilet in there too, and just sit inside it as you hurtle towards the moon. In order to survive, we need to control aspects of our external environment, and for the most part, this works really well for us. This might be why we think about doing it to our internal world too when things start to feel a little hairy. Control in this way isn't really your friend when it comes to internal world of thoughts and feelings. In situations of anxiety, control and struggle can amplify things and make them a whole lot worse. Before you know it, you can have anxiety about anxiety, anger about anxiety, or even depression about anxiety. The mix and match possibilities are endless, and we really don't want to end up there. All that said, let's dive in with technique 1, which I like to call I'm having the thought that. So take a moment to fuse with a judgment about yourself. If you can't think of one, here's one I prepared earlier. I'm a loser. Really fuse with it. Say it over and over in your head. I'm a loser. I'm a loser. I'm a loser. Oof. Not feeling so great all of a sudden. Now try this. I'm having the thought that I'm a loser. Did anything change for you? Did you notice a sense of separation or distance from the thought? Now let's take it a step further. I'm noticing myself having the thought that I'm a loser. By now, that thought is a distant object on the horizon I can barely see. Another way to think about it is this. Imagine you're watching a movie in a cinema, and not just any cinema. This is IMAX. You are completely immersed in the experience, and it feels like you're literally in the movie scene. So that would be like the first example of fusing with the thought, I am a loser. Now imagine that you take a moment to look down, and you notice yourself sitting in a chair, and you become aware that you're actually in a cinema, watching a screen over there. And notice the language. I'm here, and the screen is over there. If we overlay this idea with the loser thought, what we've done is added a preface, and the sentence goes something like, I'm having the thought that I'm a loser. Just like you acknowledge yourself watching a screen, you can acknowledge that you're having a thought. This creates a bit of a distance between you and the thought, or you and the experience of the screen. We can even take it one step further. Now imagine you're sitting behind yourself, maybe in the projection room of the cinema, and through that little window, you're watching yourself watch the screen. Now you can imagine the third thought we discussed earlier, with the extra bit added, I'm noticing myself having the thought that I'm a loser. By this stage, the immersion into the movie is far away, as you are well aware of yourself in a cinema projection room, watching yourself, watching a screen. The second technique is called Thank You Mind. This is diffusion with a twist of self-compassion and humor. With this, we're showing appreciation for how good the brain is at the monumental job of keeping you alive and comfortable. With this technique, I'm encouraging you to thank your mind for its input. Whatever your mind says to you, no matter how nasty or scary, hey, it might even call you a loser. See, if you can simply reply thanks mind with a sense of humor and appreciation of your mind's amazing capacity for grabbing your attention with any means at its disposal. While this approach may take some getting used to, the main idea is to use a bit of humor to take the edge off the adversarial stance we can have with our mind, especially when we start to get annoyed or sick of its incessant and seemingly unhelpful chatter. Technique 3 is singing. Now we get to have some fun. Okay, at this point I should say that I'm not trying to minimize the impact of anxiety or trauma, or the sometimes terrible events that lead us to think the way that we do. The next few techniques are really about trying to have fun with the nature of words and how in different contexts they can be experienced in different ways. So let's try singing our painful thoughts. I don't know, maybe to the tune of the Happy Birthday song. You're a loser, look at you, you're a loser, it's true, you're a loser, you're a loser, you're a loser through and through. You can use any tune you like. I'll spare you from more of my singing, but I think you get the idea here. In a similar vein, I call technique 4 silly voices. Maybe you can imagine Gollum from Lord of the Rings telling Sam that he's a loser. What's that? You're a loser, precious. Or maybe Yoda's had enough of Luke while training him in episode 5. Failed you have at lifting those stones. Most certainly a loser you are. Or Let's get serious for a moment. Maybe you want your life narrated by the great Morgan Freeman. Ever since I was a boy, I knew that I was a loser. You either get busy living or you get busy dying. By saying the words in these ways, we are giving the words less edge and gravitas, or more if you choose to say it like Morgan Freeman. That guy's narrations are dead set legendary. And having some fun with the idea that these thoughts are simply words, puffs of air, and sounds, and as a result, helping us become less stuck to their meaning. Technique number 5 is another one that plays on how the impact of words can change depending on how they're said, or in this case, repeated. Called Tichener's Repititions, English psychologist Edward Tichener discovered that if you keep repeating a word, say 50 or more times, it begins to lose its meaning. It becomes just a sound rather than a concept. So let's try it with the word lemons. Do it until it becomes a meaningless sound. Lemons, 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 lemons. Now let's try it for something more evocative. Let's keep with our theme, you loser. Say the word loser over and over. Loser, 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 loser. The word melds into some other sound and can even change and morph as you keep repeating it. We can use the last 3 techniques to change our relationship with our thoughts being observable words which materializing in our consciousness with very little control or input from us, just as an image on a movie screen might. See how these things are starting to connect? Technique number 6 is called computer screen, and this one's probably best done as a demo. So, if you're not driving and you feel comfortable, gently close your eyes or allow your gaze to fall unfocused on a spot in front of you. Now, fuse with a negative judgment for about 10 seconds. We can stick with I'm a loser for consistency's sake, or you can choose your own. Now imagine a computer screen with a word processor open, and imagine your thought written up in black text. Nothing fancy. The default Calibri or Times New Roman. Now in your mind's eye, play around with the color. Make the text green, then red, then blue. Now use your imagination and play around with the font you've chosen. You can make the text appear in italics, now bold, maybe both bold and italics, maybe a stylish handwritten font now, or a comic book style font. You can make these words change to any font you like. Now imagine the words in black again and have them jump around and wiggle and dance around on the screen. You can even imagine a karaoke ball bouncing on the words of your thought. Heck, you can even combine this with a technique 3 and sing the words to the happy birthday tune. Now gently open your eyes, bring yourself back into the space you're in. Right, back with us? Now let's move on. Finally, we come to technique 7, and it's a big one because there are endless varieties of what's known as letting go metaphors. These are some of my favorites as they involve a meditative process and can be quite relaxing, even though that's not necessarily what we're trying to do. The first one I want to share is the one where we can imagine our thoughts as cars driving past outside our house. We don't have to go out and check each one or get involved. It's enough to know they're there and they are driving past, coming and going. In this same way, we can imagine our own thoughts coming and going without us having to interfere or get involved. There's a really lovely meditation called Leaves on a Stream. Start by imagining a beautiful stream as vividly as you can. Notice the sunlight through the trees, the time of day, the smell of the area, maybe somewhere with bushes and trees. Immerse yourself in it as best you can. The aim of the meditation is that whenever you have a thought, words, images, anything pop into your head, you see it written on the leaf or placed on the leaf and watch it float on down the stream. As simple as that. No matter the thought, notice it, place it on the leaf, and see it float on by, over and over, for as long as you like. For those whose visualizing skills are a bit more limited, try imagining a conveyor belt, like a baggage carousel at the airport. Imagine that our thoughts come and go, just like the bags on the carousel, without us having to interact with them. Also imagine that unclaimed bags can come around a few times as a metaphor for similar thoughts repeating themselves too. But no matter the thoughts, repetitive or novel, we allow them to come and go without us getting involved. Another one I often share with clients is the suitcase in the sea metaphor. Imagine you're on a cruise ship and it starts to sink. Scary. You have your suitcase and you're holding onto it. This suitcase is full of valuable things you've collected in your life and you can't bear to be without it. These valuable things in our suitcase is a metaphor of how we think about things, the high value we place on our judgments and our thoughts, how we feel about things, a metaphor for a whole bunch of things in your life that are dear to you but might be keeping you tethered and stuck because you carry them around all the time. So you're in the water, holding onto your suitcase. Then you feel the weight of it start to pull you under. What can you do? It seems there are two choices. Hold on to the things in the suitcase and go down with them, or let the suitcase go and have a chance at swimming to safety. I love this metaphor as it highlights that in order to change, sometimes we have to let go of things that we hold on to, like old beliefs that no longer serve us, so that we can have a chance at change and survival. These are the 7 techniques that, when practiced, can help us let go of difficult, anxiety-producing thoughts that can keep us stuck and powerless. As you've seen with these techniques, we find ways to distance ourselves from our thoughts, giving us space to change our reactions. We drop the struggle with difficult thoughts or painful feelings, which in turn reduces their amplification. And finally, we understand that the problem isn't really the content of our thoughts, but rather how we become stuck or fused with them. I really hope you found this video helpful, and thank you for watching my take on diffusion skills. We here at Skyline Psychology hope that you have a non-stick, Teflon-like, anxiety-befriending day. See you in the next video.